National Congress, where the ANC says the army must be called in to fight violent crime and has announced its reworked coalition's strategy. The party today communicated outcomes of its NEC meeting, which includes an update on the Integrity Commission and its view on the potential visit of the Russian president. The ANC also weighed in on the war of words between the Energy Minister and Electricity Minister. Govan Whittles is at Luthuli House and joins us live now. Govan, what has the ANC said about the possible deployment of the SANDF?
Well, the ANC believes that the army should be used to try and find some of these illegal guns that are in communities on a more proactive basis. They've said that this should be done using Operation Fiela. That was something which was launched a number of years ago, during which the army went through communities, not only looking for people who had illegal guns, but conducting operations which seem to mirror what is within the ambit of the South African Police Service. This time, the ANC endorsing the view that the army should play a more proactive role. We've seen some real criticism of this from opposition parties, particularly in the parliament, and there has been some friction between the police in terms of whether or not this should be happening. But this is a clear decision that's come from the ANC's NEC meeting. It's in direct response to rising violent crime in the country. The ANC's Secretary General, using the phrase fighting fire with fire and a tooth for a tooth, saying that that is the manner in which the army should be deployed. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
We have encouraged that the same approach that was employed to deal with the shutdown must be rolled out in the fight against crime in South Africa. If it means soldiers must be deployed, that should happen. If it means that Arma Perete must be deployed and strengthened to fight tactical battle on the ground from the police side in terms of the violent crimes, the police must do that. Soldiers get to be deployed from time to time to support the police in the fight against crime through an operation called Operation Fiela, to get guns and then to be in the township search and seizure in most of the areas. We have said that this must be accelerated.
Some of the remarks being made by Fikile Mbalula, Secretary General of the ANC, at the briefing on the outcomes of its NEC meeting. The next set of remarks are about coalitions, and here the Secretary General is quite confusing. Initially he says that, yes, they will work with the EFF and they won't work with the DA. Then he goes on to say that, well, they might work with the DA if they're forced to do so. What is clear is that the ANC NEC has now adopted an approach which will prioritize proportional representation. Essentially, they want the party that has the most votes in a hung municipality, even if those votes are under 50%, to be the de facto leader of the coalition. That's the same approach the DA has taken. But then the ANC seemingly saying that they want proportional representation in the executive, that the positions allocated to members of the coalition should be done according to how many votes or how many seats each party has within each municipality. They're also flirting with the idea of having all of the parties in a hung municipality take part in a government together, and then the party with the most votes being the leader of that government. But they haven't explained exactly how they would implement this or where. They've acknowledged that everything they've done so far, that's in Gauteng, particularly in the hung municipalities in Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, was approved by the national officials, that Panyaza Lesufi wasn't acting on his own when he went out to make a deal with the EFF. But they now have a different approach about it and says that it can't be based on personalities or gentlemen's agreements. It should be based on the will of the people, even if that will is only expressed through proportional representation in coalitions. We'll listen to the Secretary General in a moment. It should be interesting to note that the view the ANC is espousing here is quite close to the one that is held by the Democratic Alliance. And although it says it doesn't intend on going into coalition with the DA, the ANC is starting to talk like the DA at more and more of its functions when it talks about coalitions. It seemingly holds some of the same positions as the DA when it comes to coalitions. Those same positions that have been criticized by the DA's coalition partners, such as Action SA and the Patriotic Alliance. Let's listen to Fikile Mbalula and what he had to say about coalitions.
The party that has won the largest votes should lead the coalition in that municipality. An executive position should be allocated in proportion to the votes obtained by coalition partners. Coalition governments should reflect the will of the people, not just elite deal-making among parties. A threshold of a share of the electoral outcome should be introduced for representation in executives so that there is a degree of legitimacy regarding who qualifies to be part of the executive leadership of the coalition government. The law should be amended to ensure that public administration is insulated from coalition deal-making and bargaining, and motion of no confidence are not abused.
Very interesting rhetoric coming out of that media briefing, Govan. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there for now.